Hey everyone, my name is Rooster and welcome back to Mechabellum. In today's video, I've got a game where I went all in on rhinos, and of course it is going to be the elite spec pack being picked here. Lovely starter in my opinion. Crawler steel ball is nice, and I get to buy 2 level 2 arc lights, which is just really powerful into almost any pack that you can start against. Opponent here is going to go for the fortified specialist, starting with fangs and stormcallers, which should be a decent matchup for me. Now, when my opponent has this type of starter, and especially on elite, with Mustangs being as strong as they are, I will often try and prioritize going Mustangs early, right? Like, they're good into the fangs, and they're honestly quite good into kind of squishier units like Stormcallers as well. But for now, I'm just going to prioritize 2 arc lights. Those are going to be helpful just throughout the early game, and yeah, on round 1, 2 level 2 arc lights is hard to deal with. You'll see me position some crawlers in front here. I'll be playing around with some different ideas. Mainly what I want to try and achieve is just making sure that my steel balls don't get instantly locked. Against other starters that don't have stormcallers, I usually don't mind putting all the crawlers kind of behind the steel balls and let those tank and then add chaff on the front line later on. But against stormcallers, I think it's good to have at least one in the middle like this. Many people will put their stormcallers on the insides of the tower, so one forward crawler like this will usually be enough to distract storms. And yeah, let's go. We're pushing this right tower. Opponent, though, uses a good pulling tactic there, which means that the steel balls will be heading for the fangs instead of for that tower, so I don't think we'll be getting a debuff here. We can speed things up a little bit. As you can see, we get a lot of clumping, which means that the stormcallers will hit their shots, and that's when stormcallers are at their scariest. And that does mean that round 1 will go over to my opponent. Not too big of a problem though. We have a lot of hit points, and this matchup should get a lot better as we get more deployments. Round 2, we immediately get free units. And looking at these packs, I could have picked Typhoon. Phantom Ray, I could go for if I want to like cheese, but Phoenix and Marksman are offered, so it's probably not going to be that good in the long run. And yeah, Marksman I don't like that much on aggro, so it would have to be something like Phoenix, which is what I end up going for. And here I don't even really think about using it in the main fight, because if you look at the opponent's units, there's nothing that requires a Phoenix really, apart from I guess these Phoenixes. But if I just buy a Mustang, I should be able to deal with that, and then the Mustangs are going to be really useful against all of these fangs as well. And in the meantime, I can use round 2 to kind of set up, right? Go for a cheese. Try to get the tower debuff. If I can win, I can get to the mid game, and then it'll be much easier for me with the elite spec to buy the units that I want. I do start selling out a steel ball. Main idea there is I want to get the 2 deployments down of Mustang and Crawler, because I think those are going to be more useful down the line than something like steel ball. And yeah, that's also the second point, right? I don't think steel ball is going to do all that much in this scenario. Considering that we're up against Fang, Stormcaller, and Arc, there's not much for them to hit. Opponent does go for a Wasp deployment as well there. Keep in mind they had to unlock this, so they're not on aerial spec. And sadly, my Mustangs are not on the correct side. I could have put them there, I guess, but I wanted them to kind of like target these Fang packs. Oh, we even get a missile here at the very end. It's a bit unfortunate. I was debating, I think, for a bit whether or not to put the crawler in front, but ended up not going for it. It does mean that that missile definitely gets value. Kills a steel ball pack and a crawler pack. However, we get the debuff first, as our Phoenixes have more range. And the Mustangs are still alive, or well, just a couple of them. Maybe we can kill this Phoenix, but I doubt we'll have enough left to kill those Wasp. We will be heading for tower. Still have those 2 Phoenixes left, but Phoenixes killing Wasp is probably going to take a little bit too much time. Not too bad, all things considered, though. My opponent went for the Wasp unlock, the Wasp deployment, a missile, and all of those should become useless as I start to build into my Mustang. So 3 Wasps survive there. I don't think that's too bad. Now let's see. Round number 3, we do get additional deployment slot offered. This is a bit of a tough one, because it could be somewhat hard for me to make use of, right? Like, if I pick it now, I guess I could sell something. But it would still be quite difficult for me to make use of the additional deployment every single round. Much harder for elite than for other comps, or other specialists rather, simply because of the unit cost. And so here I'm doing some math and I'm thinking, okay, if I skip, I go up to 700. And if I sell either my steel ball or my phoenix, I go up to 900. And 900 would be the perfect amount to buy 2 more blue Mustangs and range them as well. And that is, to me, simply going to be a stronger round than having that additional deployment slot, right? I think I can kind of gain some tempo here, and seeing as I'm elite spec, I should get some value out of the quality of my units anyway down the line, rather than playing for quantity. And so yeah, you will see me skip, and my opponent here will have the additional deployment slot. But man, look at how many fangs there are, right? Like, I'm going to get so much value out of this range Mustang, I think, that I'm very, very happy with the choice I made. We also put a Mustang here on the outside just to defend that left tower, because we didn't level it yet. And, well, the Phoenixes are still in place. I sold the steel balls instead. But those are sadly going to get stuck on the fangs. Good thing here as well is my opponent did go for range on arc lights, so matching that with the range on the Mustang is quite important. If I didn't do that, and I just went for deployments, I probably would have lost this round. But instead, we end up winning. We'll get the tower. Not too many units left alive, but hey, we are building a solid backline of Mustangs, which in the current meta, you can't complain about. And now we enter round number 4. Advanced power system shows up. Underground threat as well. But man, advanced power system just seems so good in a lot of these games where I play aggressive. Opponent will opt to go underground threat. I was a little bit surprised about this because though it's a very powerful spell into any other specialist, elite spec has a pretty easy time dealing with it. And that's because one level 2 crawler pack will beat the underground threat. So yeah, I was a bit surprised about this, and I'm not even sure if I will be playing around it. Now, I'm looking for a frontline, right? I've got my Mustangs, but they need something to tank for them. And I'm thinking, well, down the line, I would probably like something along the lines of a fortress, but that's way too expensive on round 4 for me to buy, and I'd have to wait until the next unit drop to kind of give me that cash injection. So instead, I can just buy level 2 Rhinos. These are pretty hard to deal with, especially for Arclights, Storms, Fangs, level 1 Phoenix, and they should do a pretty good job at, well, just being a tank, while my Mustangs do the rest. This does mean, however, that I do not have the crawler to defend this side. So this underground will probably come through and debuff me. We'll have to see, though. Opponent goes for a bit of a weird play here, trying to pull my Mustangs. I also am going temp speed here, by the way, since we did get advanced power system as well, and I think that pull just saved me there. The late crawlers on the right did turn, but I would have gotten debuffed on the left, I think, if not for that Arclight pull, and it didn't achieve anything either. Like, we did kill it because it was still spawning in. 2 towers upgraded, by the way. That's pretty early, but I've been liking this type of investment from defensive players. I think it's a pretty good move, usually, to just level your towers at least once, because it's relatively cheap, and it does create a barrier, especially for units like Mustang, if those are the only ones left alive. Now, round number 5, we get efficient light manufacturing. I wasn't too happy about this because my opponent already picked up the additional deployment, remember, so they'll be able to get really, really quick value out of this card. For me, I think it's too expensive. Paying 300 now, and then I'll have to basically recruit 3 units 3 times to be able to start making profit out of it. Oh, well, I need to recruit 6 units and just to pay back 7 units, actually, because it's a 350 cost card. And yeah, that's not a play that's available to me, sadly, so I will have to skip, and instead we'll go for one of the other cards. It's going to be the portable shield. Really lovely item on the Rhino, essentially doubling its hit points. And it would be really strong on something like a fortress as well, if it ends up showing up. We buy another Mustang. We also make sure to take the levels. And yeah, Rhino there in front of that Arclight that he added. And I think we just want some more crawlers, maybe. I am selling out of my arc lights, by the way. They're not that useful here, and I just want to retrieve the... not only the resources, but also make sure that my opponent doesn't have as much experience to gain from, well, high-level units that aren't doing too much. We add more crawlers to the front line here. This is mainly to try and catch a missile, in case my opponent wanted to slow down my Rhino. An opponent adds another arc light here. I was really confused about this play, because I did leave space for a Rhino in front, and my Mustangs are so high level that this arc light dies really, really fast. More Mustangs, or sorry, more Phoenixes now being added to try and deal with this Rhino, but I think he'll need Charge Shot to effectively be able to deal with this. Rhino there, not quite able to hit the tower, sadly, but the right side is looking really strong, and now the second Rhino on the left side is coming in late after having dealt with the flank. Right side Rhino does manage to get the tower. And maybe we can even manage to take the shield down here. That would be really nice. We do. Some powerful stuff. Opponent there shielding, by the way, because of the availability of the fire spell, I believe. But that's a lovely turn. And now we enter round 6. Will we get free units? Not quite. We do get haste module or amp core. Both of those nice items for the Mustangs. And opponent will pick up the amp core. Other cards here I don't really consider. No need for improved Tarantula or mass-produced Wraith. I think my Mustangs are strong enough to be able to DPS. And here, well, I'm still waiting, right? I know next turn that I get free units, so I want to wait for that. Instead of already buying a unit that I might get for free. And so here we're kind of starting to cook a little bit. Because I'm seeing that my opponent isn't respecting the Rhinos that much, right? Like White Phoenixes is just not quite powerful enough. He would have to click Charge Shot, and even then it could be tough. So I'm just opting to buy even more Rhinos. One on the flank on the right side to deal with that newly added arc light. We have one on the left. And, well, let's just buy more. And at that point, if we have this many... why not give them armor enhancement, right? That 50% increased HP for 200 is lovely value, and it should just serve me well, right? I'm not even really committing to Rhino that much here, even though it seems like it. Because I'm winning, and my Mustangs are kind of the core carry, I can eventually replace the Rhinos or just add a new unit that will perform better in, like, the mid-round, right? Something like a Fortress, while keeping the Rhinos as well. Now, opponent this time will respect the Rhinos, as he buys quadruple Steel Ball and immediately clicks Armor Enhancement. Armor Enhancement, I presume, against the Mustangs. I'm not sure I like that all that much. I think it's probably better to get, like, range or even energy absorption. Armor is powerful against Mustang, but it's very expensive as attack on Steel Balls, costing 350. And against level 3 Mustangs that deal 124 damage... yes, it blocks half of the damage, but I don't think it's going to be that significant. And you can actually see that my Rhinos here are simply pushing through. They don't care about those Steel Balls. This is also, by the way, the power of speed. Having that enhanced speed card and then clicking it on the tower as well is going to be very important if you try to play something like this, which relies on, well, melee range units like crawlers and Rhinos to get in. Round number 7, we get some free units there, but there was nothing really to my liking. And so I just take the Vulcan, sell it, and now is when we are really starting to get into meme territory, as we buy triple Rhino, and we triple tech them as well. We add Whirlwind, and we add Photon Coating. Photon Coating to make them even tankier, and the Whirlwind should help to maybe kill those Steel Ball packs. Opponent goes for the Vulcan there on the left, also decides to add a sticky oil bomb from the tower. This is a very common play that you can make when Vulcan shows up from a unit drop. Just use it to ignite the fire, and then you should at least be able to get rid of all small units on one side of the board. Range will finally come out on Steel Ball. I think that's a very important thing to pick, as last round the Rhinos were just getting in. And we'll just have to see how this goes. Opponent adding a Steel Ball and a Crawler onto the flank there as well, hoping to maybe lock onto that Rhino, but it shouldn't happen this turn. Opponent will still have to wait 2 seconds for these to spawn in. And with the Whirlwind, these should get rid of quite quickly. And let's see, how many Rhinos do we even have at this point? 6 on the front line, 2 in the back, 8 in total. Yeah, this is probably the most Rhinos I have bought in a very, very long time. Yeah, sadly there you can see that those steel balls with range are definitely doing a much, much better job. I'm also getting slowed down by a couple of late missiles. And that does look like perhaps the steel balls will come out ahead. Steel balls somewhat tanky still. Only 1 Mustang pack left alive. I think we should at least be able to get the debuff, but will it be enough to kill the remainder of the units is the question. Rhino now walking in. It is still practically full health. And as it's walking in, starting to punch the steel balls, that's all of the big threats gone. And those supportive Mustangs are no slouches either. 85k damage already. Massive round. Rhino deals 75k. Mustangs deal 85k. And that sends our opponent down to about 1,000. So I don't need to win too many more rounds here to be able to take a win. Enhancement module shows up, intensive training as well, and I do happen to have some levels available on the Rhinos, so I will pick up the enhancement module there. Can level up a Rhino here on the left, can level up this Rhino as well. I will opt to sell, because again, as much as I'm triple teched into Rhino, considering I still have 4.6k hit points, I can still make another transition, or just add another big unit to the board, right? For now, I'm still kind of trying to judge how things are going. Those ranged steel balls were somewhat scary, but I might be able to still get away with things. I am loaning here, by the way, since it could potentially be the last round. Underground threat is back available, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem. I am missiling this pack here on the right. I should have probably added 2 missiles though, because with the armor, these steel balls don't die to a single missile. So I should have added 2. And yeah, well, look. If we've got this many Rhinos and we triple tech them, can we really do anything other than quadruple tech them with that mech rage, giving them even more move speed? So now they move at 27 meters a second. I feel like we just had to. So yeah, one more turn here of Rhino memes. And I just kind of want to judge what my opponent does as well, right? Like I think I have quite a few plays that I can make to try and deal with these steel balls. Something like Hacker, something like even Fortress, honestly. War Factory, all of those could be possible. Opponent goes for the Incendiary Bomb. Somewhat scary. Another Stormcaller has been added, I think. And also got a lot of levels on the steel balls. He picked up the enhancement module. But yeah, that's an awful lot of steel balls, and that's more than this Rhino can deal with, sadly. No Whirlwind on the tower. And this is where I honestly would have preferred having something like the Final Blitz, right? The bomb upon death tech on the Rhino instead of Mech Rage, because these towers at 23k hit points would have gone down to it if that Rhino is that close. And the blast radius is much larger than you might expect. But yeah, looks like the steel balls there will be coming out ahead, and now I'm starting to take a little bit more damage than I might want, going down to 3.1k, so it might be time to start pivoting a little bit. Round number 9, we get more free units. Sabertooth, Typhoon, Tarantula, and War Factory available. War Factory here could be an option. Typhoon could be an option for a sell. I opt to go for Typhoon and sell. And my opponent picks up the War Factory. It's a little bit scary. I think for me, War Factory also would have made sense. Could have just picked it up and then add another one here on the front line. I do have enough space, I believe, to fit one in. And because I'm elite, I would be able to recruit another level 2 one. But yeah, instead we go for the sell. I wanted to buy something that could deal with the steel balls and also give some protection against the incendiary bomb. And so that's going to be the hackers. Nice thing here is I'm able to recruit them at level 2. I could even recruit at level 3, but I didn't quite have the money for that because I also want to get range as well as barrier and then still buy another hacker. So we've got triple hacker now. You will see me double missiling this side with the big flank. And let's see how this goes. Of course, lone, temp range, temp speed, all of those are still important. And let's see how this goes. Armored factory. So that's 267,000 hit points worth of units. That is somewhat scary, especially when a second one shows up. Maybe we can hack them. I think the hackers might be a little bit too low level, but we can give it a try. If we can get a debuff some way, somehow, then maybe. Let's see how this goes. More missiles being added there, but won't be too much of a problem just yet. And the crawlers, I think, managing to trigger the next one. So these rhinos are now unslowed. And they will actually manage to somehow get in. Look at that guy, man on the mission. Gets onto tower, triple taps it. And now I've got a rhino chopping away at a factory. And keep in mind, rhinos are some of the highest DPS units in the game because of the fact that they are melee. So that guy did a significant amount of damage. And suddenly we have now hacked a level 1 factory. Now, good thing for my opponent is that he does have some steel balls available and another factory. So those will get rid of the hacked one. Meanwhile, I get debuffed by a lone steel ball, a rogue assassin. Takes down my tower, and I think that will make it so that I can't win this anymore. I'm slowly hacking the level 3 steel balls. So it's not too bad, but I don't think I have enough left to be able to hack this at full health. We already struggled a little bit with the one that was like on 40% hit points, so never mind about this guy. But yeah, still close affair there, and I do not hate my odds here. I think that's a pretty reassuring round, considering I was still getting into Hacker. And now we enter round number 10. Nuke is available, which is probably a must pick. The other items are not that great, I have to say. So yeah, both of us will pick up the nuke. I decided to put it on the left side because I'm mostly invested on the right. So if I can kill some of these units, prevent them from getting to my tower, that would be ideal. And yeah, let's see. I'm now selling out of my Rhino on the flank, just opting to go for double missile. These crawlers are high level anyway, so even if this arc light will probably not get hit by the blast, I should be able to win that side. I've also got the Mustangs in backup. Nuke on the right side for my opponent. I'm leveling my hackers, and here comes the nice part about the latest buff to that elite recruit button, right? I can recruit level 3 hackers by clicking the elite recruitment because I am elite spec. And that's going to be very helpful here because it scales with, well, not just the damage on the hacker, or, well, the hacking on the hacker, but also with that barrier. And yeah, here we go. We get 3 more of those, trying to kind of play on the right side, a little bit in the middle. And hopefully, he won't be able to break my shields, and so this nuke won't do too much. Another factory shows up, a third one. And I am beaconing, by the way, this Rhino here into the tower, hoping that I can get in yet again. And let's see how this goes. Lots and lots of steel balls on the right side there. Look at that. And left side, no shield, so this nuke on the left should be pretty good. Of course, it will kind of tickle the factory, but still going to be good damage on everything else. And just have a look at this Rhino here walking in. It gets stuck in between all of those units, goes for a double Whirlwind, and will kill the Vulcan in the process. Meanwhile, we have now started hacking some factories. Left side, the nuke went off. Looks like we were able to protect our units thanks to those barriers still being alive. And the Mustangs are now sitting in front of the hackers, which protects them for long enough that I'm able to hack one of them. Then the factory takes the tower, and with 7 seconds of debuff, we might just be able to take over this factory as well. And looks like that will be the case. No more steel balls left for my opponent. And now, while the factory is busy fighting the other factory, my high-level hackers are going to try and take over the final one that was on the board, and that is how we managed to close out the game with a minus 122. Yeah, this was quite the game. I was memeing a little bit. Over-investing into Rhino, probably. I think going Rhino here, though, made a lot of sense in the early game, or in the mid-game, to have some frontline for the Mustangs, and then be able to transition into something else later on as we got a response from our opponent. We end up full teching, but I have to say, they didn't really disappoint that much, even though at the end there, the hackers are clutch, and I get quite fortunate with the hack into the debuff. This level 3 Rhino was still second on damage, keep in mind. And it was second on damage on that round as well. Getting stuck in between those steel balls, the factory, and the Vulcan there, and getting 2 Whirlwinds off. Quite the powerful unit. Mustangs, of course, are going to be top damage. But yeah, this is a good way to play Elite, right? Like, stick to your mid-sized units. Mustangs are probably the strongest unit when scaling in the meta currently. So getting access to those at level 2, especially into the Fangs, and then adding something like Rhino in the mid game, and then playing off of the drop can be really, really useful. Also, that Elite recruit button, sometimes very clutch. Being able to grab those level 3 hackers definitely made a difference there. Anyway, if you like this video, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know what you think about Mustangs, Rhinos, hackers down below. If you want to stay up to date with the latest content, please do consider subscribing. And with that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.